Welcome to the 4MileCircus podcast, where we talk to independent media makers about social media, crowdfunding, and making media. 4MileCircus is an independent media services company based in Brooklyn. My name is Sean Mannion, and I am one of the partners in 4MileCircus and one of the co-hosts of the show. And
I'm Nicole Solomon. I'm the other part of all of those things. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking to Hye Yun Park, creator of such web series as Hye Yun and Hye Yun. Oh my God.
it's just Hye Yun.
I get your Twitter handle and your show
no worries.
confused.
Actually, I should have named it Hye Yun. Probably would have done better.
We'll just redo it. We'll redo the whole show.
We'll shoot it after this interview. We can do it right here. And BKPI. And a lot of other cool stuff. And we're going to be talking with her in a minute.
But before we get into that, Nicole, do you have a social media tip?
I do have a social media tip. Let's see what it is. I don't remember what I was going to do.
Hold on. I'm going to Instagram live it because I'm obsessed with this for today.
Okay. So Sean's Instagram living, it's distracting. My social media tip is about comments on social media. Comments, make them. Basically, is my tip. Like, we always tell people here at 4MileCircus that social media is social, and comments are a big part of that. Comments help people get to know you, and they're a way you can help boost other people's content while participating in real conversations. If someone posts about a project that you think looks cool, you should say so. Maybe that goes without saying, but for a lot of us, we're on social media, we're busy, we're trying to, get our content posted and scroll through and stay on top of things, and don't necessarily take the time to really engage in other people's stuff. And quite frankly, if you want people to engage with your stuff, you better be engaging with other people's stuff as well. So yeah, when you see something that's cool, don't just think for half a second, that's cool, and keep scrolling. Pause for a second and say, hey, that looks cool. It'll give the poster a lift. And if you're on Facebook, it will give that actual post a lift in the algorithm as well. So more people may see it. It's a way, you can help be part of that rising tide that lifts all boats or whatever. And, there's different things you can do to comment. If words aren't your bag, you can, post an appropriate GIF or sticker or image. And those sorts of things, GIFs, stickers, images, tend to further help boost things in the algorithm, it seems. Give it a little bit more juice and show enthusiasm. And, of course, when commenting, don't be a jerk. Generally speaking, there are exceptions to every rule, but as a general rule, don't be a jerk. There are times when it's useful to disagree with or correct people, but weigh how serious it is. If someone posts something, you're like, well, that's not exactly right. Like, is it actually going to be helpful to the person to, correct them like a dick? Or is it just going to be you looking like a dick and not, putting your best face forward? So, in general, if you don't have something nice to say, keep your Twitter fingers off the phone, unless it's something really important. And even if it is really important, think it through then first, so you can engage in a constructive rather than just off-putting way. Unless someone's just really a dick and you're just like, there's exceptions to every rule. But anyway, if someone is excited about their favorite TV show coming back and you think that TV show sucks, it's probably a good time to stay quiet and not be like, hey, you're wrong, Daredevil sucks, the best was The Flash, or whatever your opinion is.
All your favorite shows suck.
Okay, I'm leaving. See, that was a role play to show how to not be on social media, right, Sean?
Exactly.
You
Don't be like me. Never be like Sean.
But anyway, so commenting, try to do it. It's 2017, it's January, New Year. Let's comment more on other people's stuff. Don't just always be like, here's my stuff and some more of my stuff and some more of my stuff. Come to my show, click my link, buy my thing. Be like, hey, here's someone else's thing. It's great. That's nice. It's a nice thing to do. It's a nice pro-social thing to do. And so comment.
And mingling. It's like mingling, yeah.
Like actually talking or something. Like you're actually connecting when you're networking or something weird like that.
I sometimes get really lazy about writing replies to other people's kind and great comments on the posts that I posted. But it's kind of arrogant. I should interact.
I mean,
even if it's like, oh, this is great, thank you.
It's, yeah, if you can. Also, like, don't
full disclosure, as you were saying, giving the tip, I went on my Facebook and I replied to somebody's comment on my post.
See, it works. The 4 Mile Circus method works. Yeah. Yes. Also, though, don't beat yourself up because no one has time to reply to every comment if you're getting a lot of comments. You can't. You can always like it on Facebook, and that's a little way to be like, acknowledge, I see you. I see you, and I like what you said.
For people who think that social media is like such a drag and they hate it, and like, oh, like buttons, like, it is a small nugget of a way to say, I see you. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, and I think that's great. There's a downside too that I could talk about. It's a mixed bag, but I think that's real. It's nice when you're like, oh, somebody saw this. Mm-hmm. Just that recognition is. Yeah. And for some people, especially if you're not in a position where maybe you are getting as much face-to-face interaction as, that can be a real lifeline of real communication with other people and support. Mm-hmm. And that's, sometimes people are like, oh, people just post to social media so they'll get some likes. And it's like, you know what? If you're having a shit day and you post like, I just made a sandwich that looks great. Mm-hmm. And then, the kind of thing that people make fun of, like, why are you posting pictures of your food? And it's like, well, because some people like to look at pictures of food. And if you don't, you can scroll past it. And those type of people who are like, wow, that sandwich looks really great. If that, like, helps you that day, I think that's great. And I don't know why people have to be down on the completely benign to positive aspects of social media.
Especially hating on selfies.
Agreed.
I love selfies, and to me, like, to a lot of people, the way they post and take selfies is it's almost political.
I completely agree.
And it's a lot of time it's like very radical self-love, like, showing yourself the way you want it to be shown. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't understand why people find the need to hate. Well, I do sometimes, like, get snarky about, like, selfies that are not done in, I don't know, creative ways, when it's just, like, a very two-dimensional way. But, yeah. Do what you want to do. I think that's a really good social media tip too. Do whatever the fuck you want as long as it's not harmful for other people.
Exactly. And if it's not harmful for other people, like, let it be. I think people hate on selfies. A lot of it's a kind of misogyny. Sometimes it's a kind of ageism, that, like, weird, like, ooh, millennials, and millennials is a slur. And it's like, every generation says this also about whoever's, like, in their 20s at a given time is, like, the worst. And it's stupid. Yeah.
In fairness, people in their 20s are the worst.
No
matter generation.
No, teenagers are the worst.
Oh, that's true. Teenagers are the worst.
What are you talking about?
Then people in their 20s, and then people in their 60s.
Well, let's not forget people in their 40s. They're pretty bad. And then, like, people in their 30s. People in general are a problem.
Here's what keeps me relatively sane on a good day. Everybody is amazing, and everybody is just pieces of shit. Like, the person who I think at one moment, oh my God, they're so awesome, the next day they could do something so obnoxious that enrages me. It used to enrage me, but now I'm like, no, that's how we are. I am like that. I think I'm able to be amazing on some days because on most of the days I'm just like utter shit. So that puts me to sleep at night.
I'm working on having the occasional amazing day. Mostly I just suck.
But if you own it, I think it's fine.
I agree. I have one more thing I want to say about selfies, because this has been bugging me for like 2 years. How every once in a while you'll see a story or someone will post a comment or something about, like, X number of people died this year taking selfies, and it's like this supposed to be this sign of, like, the downfall of society. Like, people are dying like, someone tried to take a selfie on a cliff or whatever and died. And I'm always like, how many people have died trying to get photos in general? How many people have died trying to get that shot? Not necessarily a selfie. Just like, people like, somebody died getting a selfie at the Grand Canyon. I'm sure people have died at I don't know if it was the Grand Canyon. So maybe, but if someone died getting a selfie at the Grand Canyon, I'm sure people have died just trying to get a photo that was, like, better. And I'm like, yeah, people die. How many people have died taking a bath? How many people have died doing any fucking thing? The fact that somebody
Like
died
sticking their dick into something weird.
a lot more than
Yeah.
A lot more people.
4 or 5 times.
And yet you keep coming back.
Just this week. Just this week.
Anyway, I think that's a false thing that people have set up about like the narcissism is killing off a generation. It's like it's not necessarily narcissistic. Like it's loving yourself is not necessarily narcissistic.
It's a political act for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's also pretty hilarious for the generation of the 60s to talk about anybody else being narcissistic. Honestly, like the people who are like
Facts.
whose celebration of their youth is, well, if you could remember the 60s, you weren't there. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like you're just celebrating the fact that you can't that you can't recall having done anything other than being in an altered state of consciousness, which probably meant you were sitting in your own filth in somebody's garage for like 20 hours a day.
That's your version of drugs, is sitting in your own filth in someone's garage for 20 hours a day.
That's my version of baby boomers.
That's fair. But it's a kind of Arrested Development, like suburban 14-year-old who thinks like drugs are cool, and I'm gonna brag now that I'm 75 about the fact that once upon a time I did drugs. No, I was cool. Like that's.
And then I voted for Reagan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fundraising. Hey, Yun, you have a couple of experiences with crowdfunding, if I remember right. Why don't you tell us about what was your first experience with crowdfunding?
Sure. The first crowdfunding campaign I did was on Kickstarter for the second season of Hye Yun, and it failed. So about a week before the campaign ended, I what do you call it? I canceled it.
Right.
Because I knew it was gonna be impossible to get the rest of the goal achieved. And it was a combination of things. Me being underprepared and I wasn't aware of how much work that was gonna be going into it. Mm-hmm. And I had friends, of course, helping me promote it. But it was, I was not strategic or organized about it. Mm-hmm. And I set the goal way too high for the network that I had. Uh-huh. But it was a blessing in disguise, because after that failed, I had several more months to prepare for it, and I rewrote the whole season. Okay. So it went from just regular narrative to mockumentary.
Okay.
So I actually think the scripts became a lot stronger, and I was able to film season 2 with my savings and some friends in Korea actually helping. So I was able to film season 2 with some savings and actually some friends from college in Korea making some contributions. So we filmed it, and then I did another crowdfunder on Seed and Spark for post-production cost. And that was an amazing experience because, number one, Seed and Spark folks are so hands-on and they provide such like thorough guidance. So I felt completely supported. So that time I was able to shoot a better pitch video and get all the literature ready. And the goal was smaller than what I had set up for Kickstarter before. So it was, I think we raised like $3,500. And this time I was just ready. Okay, like it's gonna be a daily work. Like I planned out like 2 hours a day, or sometimes more to work on it. And I was actually doing editing with our editor at the same time, so it was just like a deeply immersed work period. And we made the goal, and it was great. And and this is a big part of what Seed and Spark encourages, to think of it as an audience building experience. So I definitely found new audiences and and bonded with other artists through that campaign, which was pretty fun.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just like love Seed and Spark.
Yeah.
What they're doing, and the women who are leading it, who are running the company, are so just innovative, and I really feel like they are doing their work, hard work, to nurture artists and filmmakers.
That's fantastic. So would you attribute the success to that versus the failure of the first? I know you said like you set your goal too high for the first one, but also like having that support, I would imagine, having a team that you can that can help guide you and you can get feedback from, and so you're not just kind of like out there like, okay, here's my campaign, come give me money, like kind of, you know.
And even from the pitch video. So for the Kickstarter campaign, there was nobody from Kickstarter is going to be like, hey, you need to make your pitch video in this way. So I thought it would be a smart idea to film. I collect a lot of old toys. So just have like the toys have a big discussion about whether or not Hye Yun should have a fundraiser, and my cat was in it, and like there was a big sacrificial thing at the end.
It sounds pretty awesome, honestly.
I thought it was pretty funny. I don't actually watch a whole lot of pitch videos. Like I'll watch like the first few seconds and be like, okay, I'll give you guys money. Yours I watch all the way through because I'm like, what's going on?
It's really weird, and
cool.
me and a friend were just like doing all the voices, and when I do different voices, they're all the same. So it was just like really bizarre, and I thought it was a good idea, but it was way too long, and I think what I learned by doing the next successful campaign was people want to root for you, the artist.
Yep.
And so that's why a lot of times, like when I look back at like the social media posts that have gotten the most attention, sometimes it's just a kind of this weird selfie.
Yeah.
Or so I realized, okay, this is not, instead of thinking, oh, it's us just all being superficial. No, people want to see a smile on your face. People want to see you doing well and succeed at something. Yeah. So, so the next time I did it, I didn't feature my toys. I featured myself and my friend's 3-year-old at the time, who played the baby in the au pair episode, in the first episode of Hye Yun. So it was just like us talking about it, and I think that contributed to the success as well.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I think people, what we've told a lot of people is a lot of crowdfunding is about just personal connections, and so it's like forging those personal connections with an audience who maybe doesn't know you, because most campaigns comes from like friends, family, like people that know you, collaborators and coworkers and stuff like that. So, if you're working on a pitch video, you want to bring people into you. And I think that, I mean, as much as I enjoyed the toys one, because part of that was because I'm like, oh, she does stuff with these toys. You have that grown woman with toys sort of photo
like series
project
just on Instagram.
So so for me, I was like, I already knew you, and when I saw that, I connected with that. But other people maybe not so much.
Yeah, it sounds like, I haven't seen this pitch video, but it sounds like for a certain audience that would be perfect, which is probably me and Sean, but there's probably a wider audience who would like your web series, who are just going to be like kind of confused, or like not, or that's going to keep them at arm's length. Whereas
like, oh, is this show going to be all like toys? Yeah, I understand the confusion that was there. But again, that just came out of the fact that my teacher, another one of my teachers from acting school, Ragnar Freydunk, he also is a filmmaker. So he actually shot Sumi, the short film that I made, and he said, oh, I got this macro lens, like let's play around with for your toys. So I was like, okay. And then I asked him if he minds if I use it as a pitch video. So it started out as a fun thing, and I thought it would be a good idea. But but let me tell you, like, just to raise $3,300, I had to bust my ass for a month. So I have so much respect for people who raise like 10 times, 5 times that amount, and get that achieved. It's amazing. It's hard work.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard unless your network is like very moneyed and generous, but mine isn't. And most people I know isn't.
I didn't go to film school. I think a lot of times people who go to film school, there's like a big support coming from the people.
To a degree.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
mean,
not.
because I did, and people, when I crowdfunded people there were some people who, but it's like, it's pretty limited, because it's like, there weren't that many people I knew through film school, and also none of them had very much money to give. So I did get contributions through that, but it's not like those weren't even the main networks through which I like reached out more broadly, I don't think. There were other people in my life who, like, for whatever reason, got very invested in the project, and then they were like acting as an ambassador to me. Like, I was getting like donations from people I didn't really know. Maybe I'd met once briefly, but they were the family members of friends of mine who were really invested in the project, who then I guess like talked to their family and were like, hey, my friend's doing this great thing, like, let's. And like that's where
beautiful.
that branching off happened more so for me, which was really interesting and educational.
When I did the Seed and Spark campaign, a friend of mine from 8th grade, in Maryland, and we had just reconnected on Facebook, he contributed $100. And I was just I thought it was an accident. Maybe he was trying to pay his bills. Maybe he got misrouted. And he said, oh no, I just thought you're doing great work. I just want to support you. And it was so heartwarming. It was... And then since then, we've been like messaging back and forth a little more often. I think it's social media is a great place to kind of get the affirmation that, people, we actually want to root for each other.
Yeah. I have a similar example when we did Time Signature, which Hye Yun is in. One of my wife's like high school, like somebody she went to high school with, she hadn't talked to in years, saw her post about it, and she's a doctor now or something like that, and she gave us a large chunk.
Wow.
And I'd never met this person. I still have never met this person. I can't even remember their name right now. It's one of my wife's friends.
That's a great story, Sean.
Well, it's just the connection. It's like, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, now we're best friends now. Like, sometimes people are just like, oh, that looks cool. I want to see that. Let's do that.
Yeah, there were a few people who gave me large donations who I never would have expected because we're not super close. You know, Jim McCabe, for example, like, shout out Jim McCabe, a friend of other Sean, my Sean who I live with, who is not this Sean. High school
Host of the Cipher.
Host of the Cipher podcast, which everyone should listen to. But Jim's an old friend of his who like found out about the campaign, you know, and whatever, and gave a large enough donation that he got an associate producer credit on that film, even though like I don't know him very well, but he was like, I'm in a position I can help you and I want to help you. Yeah. Like, you know, people need to help each other, so I'm gonna.
Which project was this?
Small Talk. That was Small Talk. Yeah, and then my friend Lila, who's my best friend, was the other associate producer. But there were some other people too who gave like sizable donations who I wouldn't have expected, but because they're fucking generous people and they're like, I can. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm going to, and that's wonderful. And it makes you feel so humbled for me. Cause I'm like, wow, I have a real responsibility to everybody who gave me even $1 towards my film. Like, I'm making it for you also now, you know, because you enabled me to make this and I could not have made it otherwise. And that's, you know, I take that seriously. That's part of why I get offended when people flake on their like backer rewards and stuff. Cause I'm like, they gave you money. Yeah. Hold up your end. Like, or if you can't, just explain why. Be transparent and clear and have a good reason and do something to make it up to them. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's what, you know, unsolicited foot massages are for. No? Should I not have done that? Okay.
That's
it's good.
Controversy.
But so Hye Yun season 2, is that your only crowdfunding experience so far? Like, as far as that for your projects? Yeah. And then your most recent web series, BKPI, funding came a different way.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that came together.
Sure. So BKPI is a web series about 3 women friends who anoint themselves as private investigators and solve cases on their own terms. And it's set in Brooklyn. one of the characters runs a bodega in Brooklyn, so we were able to capture a lot of the Brooklyn sceneries. And so this project, I had actually, while I was editing season 2 of Hye Yun, this idea trickled in my mind. So I had like a pitch kind of proposal ready. And just because like in the last year or two, the digital space is becoming like so, what's the word, like blooming. One of the companies called SuperDeluxe reached out to me and just wanted to see if I had more new stories brewing. So I pitched it to them, and it was a fairly quick process. Like in a matter of a month or two, they wanted me to write it. So it was a great experience, first experience to get funded fully for the whole project. And yeah, and like it had its like trial and error and struggles, because it was just my first time working with other people in that way, because before that everything was DIY. But honestly, like this year, well, we're listening right now in 2017, so 2016, the world was very dark and there were a lot of awful things happening. But for personally, I was able to work on a project that I really wanted to do fully, and with a lot of support. So it was amazing. Yeah.
And so I imagine that there's a slight difference in when, even though you have a certain responsibility to people who fund you when you do a crowdfunding project, you still kind of get to do whatever you want, more or less.
Sure,
you get to
it's
be the
mostly-
decision maker. You know, but how is that different with Super Deluxe? Were they very flexible about things, or you know, how is that dynamic different? Not necessarily saying it's necessarily good or bad either way, just curious.
It was the two producers that I mainly worked with from Super Deluxe, they were extremely collaborative. So the general process has been very much them guiding me so that I can do me the most. Because there were a few times in the beginning, especially in the writing process, where because of my anxiety that, I have to make something that they would like, the funders would like, and the people would like, and every time that would happen, it would just become less authentic. So Super Deluxe would actually guide me. Oh, no, we want the most you. So that process was beautiful. And yeah, there were just a few times in the process where we all had to put our heads together and like juggle what's the most authentic for me, but also for the funders, they want to make something that is marketable.
Right.
And I hate the word too. A lot of people do the word like bankable and marketable, but to me it was a great learning experience of how to do that without sacrificing my vision, or the essence of what I want to make. And I kind of like that. I want to continue to make stuff that spreads wide and that is bankable, or whatever that term is, so that I can continue to give opportunities to people and myself and make more stories. So I got a big kick out of it.
That's awesome. So it was kind of a productive tension if it was like they're pushing one way and you're gravitating another way, but like you know, if you're open to, it's not like it needs to be my way or the highway.
Yeah.
You know, you can end up with a stronger piece of work when you have. So they were producers not just in the sense of bringing you funding, but also in having creative input constructively, not just like being like, you can't have that, you know, dildo there or whatever, which nobody said, by the way. We did have that dildo there.
We did end up, for the dildo that we had for an episode about catching a flasher. Was it a dildo?
It wasn't
like
a
softie.
dildo. That was a
Softie, and we ended up
misspoke.
using like, what do you call it? Blurring it out.
Oh, you
graphically.
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, for example, initially when I set up the three leads of the show, it was me, myself, my pal Selena, who was going to play an MTA worker, and I wanted the woman running the bodega to be in her 40s or older.
Right.
And it was written that way. And then when we went to the casting process, SuperDeluxe wanted to like kind of age a lot of those characters down. And my first reaction was, no, ages them, sexes them. But I kept my heart a little bit open, and I still explained to them why it's important for me to show female friendships from different ages and generations. So, but we ended up, because I did hear them and they also heard me, we ended up casting like the most perfect, amazing actress, Dina Shihabi, for that role. So at the end of the day, I think as long as we can all hear each other out, it can be a productive and a nice compromise. Yeah.
Making it a compromise rather than a directive, like, oh, you have to do this, where you actually felt there was actual conversation with it.
There was, and I made sure that, like, there certain other supporting roles were able to be the older aged actresses that I wanted to cast. And
okay, and there's something to be said for. I'm not taking a stand on which would be better or anything like that, but. And I definitely hear what you're saying about having these intergenerational friendships as like the crux of the show. But there's also something powerful about having these three young women, from like different races and ethnic backgrounds and locations and all sorts of things, but are all in Brooklyn and have this, there's something nice about you all being young and kind of, there's something powerful there too, I think. Yeah,
I jokingly called the show like the hipster show. Because essentially it is a hipster show, I feel like. I mean, that term is used so broadly, but I'm a gentrifier. I didn't grow up in Brooklyn. I'm a transplant, but I think that show brewed out of my frustration of trying to explore why I'm so angry at other hipsters and gentrifiers when I'm one of them. So it was like casting-wise and just showing different people from Brooklyn was a big part of the show, instead of just having the white gentrifiers be the center and have everybody who's like lives in Brooklyn, born and raised, just be the marginalized people in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I know you have to get going pretty soon. You said so. Let's move on to our game. For
so many
this episode.
Games, yeah.
We like games.
This one is similar to the last one, but it's inspired by your Grown Woman with Toys project. So, what is your favorite toy? What is the best toy
that I've had in my life?
Doesn't matter. Any that you've even just touched.
Well, my vibrator.
That's legit. That's called a toy. I figured that was
every vibrator I've had has been my favorite toy, but I was just looking at places where I can buy Legos for a cheap price. I loved Legos growing up, and right now my favorite toy. So the Grown Woman with Toys was a thing that I started because making films can be such a long, constipated process, and some days I just literally wanted to just set up the toy somewhere outside and take a photo of it, and I would feel like, oh, okay, I did something today. And actually I started collecting the toys because I made a choice for Sumi, for that character this woman who like has toys in her room, and then I just started collecting more. But I have a toy right now who my 5-year-old friend Olivia now has, a gorilla, a plastic gorilla. But she looks super like bodacious and sensual, and one of the first photos I took of it was with that gorilla at Coney Island on the beach. I picked up a shell and placed it so that it kind of looks like she has a mermaid tail, and I wrote, "Gorillas can be mermaids too." And growing up, my chunk of my childhood, my nickname was either Gorilla or King Kong. So I have gorillas have a special place in my heart.
Did you have a tendency to climb buildings with blondes?
No, I think it was because I was like big and fat and taller than everybody. So, yeah, A lot of gorilla jokes.
Well, you should probably have tried climbing more buildings with blondes. That seems like a fun thing to do.
That's how to make it, if you want to get some fame out of it.
Like
at least.
lean into the nickname.
That will be one of my resolutions of this year.
So you should do in 2017.
Excellent.
Post a Craigslist ad.
Yes, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. There will be some gems found if I post that on Craigslist.
Do you have a favorite toy?
This is hard.
Yeah, I know.
This is weirdly hard. A favorite toy currently? I also have a lot of toys. We should talk about this. I also used to photograph toys a lot.
A lot of toys.
I had a phase where, yes, they've been in every movie I art direct. I bring some toys. It's true. I also had a period of time where I take these like macro photos on my old camera. I can't do it on my phone. I would like to get a macro lens to put on my phone, frankly, because I used to like make these little scenes and like create little sets and like take photos.
Well, you and I, if we met in high school, we would have dated.
I know. That's too bad. I would have had a better time in high school if that had happened. But anyway, like I like make little movie scenes, and I thought of them often as like film stills, but like starring all inanimate toys. But how can I pick a favorite? They're like my children. They're all my favorite.
Yes, they are.
Every parent has a favorite child.
Let's go today. I know, and it's not me. Well, let's not go down this path. Can I give two answers?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can give as many answers as you want.
One is, one of my favorite toys is I like lightsabers that light up and make the noise, and you have duels with them. Yeah, they go like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I like lightsaber duels. So lightsabers are good. One of my favorite toys is the Pizzazz doll from the Misfits from the series Gem and the Holograms that I bought at the whatever convention was going on around the Fright Night Film Festival in 2014, which was first place small talk ever screened. That was public at a festival at least. And somebody was selling for like $4 a like Pizzazz in perfect shape, but not in the packaging, so it was cheap, so I could get it, and I have it now, and I've taken a few photos of her, but not as many as I would like.
You should do like
good.
a whole like video series around that.
I would do that actually. I'd be really.
It's like in weird places. I've got those like little weird. They're all green, like zombie things that I got off my landlady.
And if you need, like, I can help you with casting the toys.
That would be good. You could help with that, and some of them. You know my Monster Women because they're in BKPI. I don't know if they're in it that you can see, but
you can see it.
I have these Monster Women. Have you seen them, Sean? They might have been in Meme too.
They were at the bodega, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
which
Dina like plays with it during that scene.
Oh yes. There's a snake lady and a spider lady. Like one
it's
is like,
possible.
They're like these little rubber toys, and I actually did a whole series of photos like 10 years ago or something of them as this like romantic couple that had some sort of like tension going on where they had to like be separated. So there are all these like very dramatic and dramatically lit photos of them like embracing one another and whatnot. Because that's what I like to do.
So good.
I think
we should do more. We should just make a feature with the.
Fuck human beings.
Seriously, just do some stop motion.
No, not even stop motion.
Stop motion, just like
screw stop motion. Just video.
Do you imagine like just like hands moving them?
No movement.
No, so like still to still to still.
But you're
not
talking about
still
making
photos.
this an Andy Warhol-esque art film. I don't know about this.
But not still photos. Like video it.
And maybe the camera. There can be camera movement.
Can move.
Oh, the camera can move. Oh,
but
so
not
it's kind of like
the
the
toys.
mannequin challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mannequin challenge.
You have to let Hye Yun go, though.
Yeah, we do.
No, hold on. I wanted to show you. Oh, we can do this after, too. So there's one of the toy shots that I did that I really want to turn into a movie, but maybe you guys could recreate it for me. It's very, like, apocalyptic. Let's hear Sean's favorite toy while I look for it.
I hadn't had anything when I came up with this, but then you mentioned them, and it reminded me of how much I used them when I was a kid. Legos were a big part of when I was a kid, like making. I was I'm still a big Star Trek nerd, and I had a few Star Trek. A fair number of Star Trek related toys, but like not like in the sort of way where you could like do your own story with it. So I would use like my Legos to do that. I would like build my own version of the bridge with, I think that was on like the base I would use for it was this thing that you would usually build like a house on, so it was green, so it's like a green carpet. Everything was mismatched colors, and nobody was in it. Like, this was before they started doing branded everything. Like, before they started doing the Star Wars ones, and they started doing like everything was all super generic. So yeah, sometimes my Star Trek people would be wearing like the space helmet for
Sure.
whatever reason, but they'd all be like from the Star Trek with stuff. They'd all be those characters, and me doing my own story that I don't remember any of those stories, but
Lego has some pretty great stuff now, I have to say.
it's crazy what they do. The way they grew in the late 90s is insane.
Yeah. Cough away. I was at my friend Che's house the other day, and he has a lot of Legos, like a lot of really cool Lego sets. And he has this new one that was like a bank, but on the other side of the bank was a laundromat, and literally inside like the Lego set, like there's a shared wall, and you deposit money through the little Lego slot, and it goes directly into a washing machine. It's because it's a money laundering. And there are all these little in-jokes about how it's like, it's not just like, oh, ha, 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 a bank and a laundromat, money laundering. It's like, no, it literally, like, the set is built so that you can launder money within it. And it's great.
And it's a set that Lego markets, not something he
Yes.
just made up.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that wasn't his, like, Lego hack. That's, like, the design.
Okay.
Lego's, like, on it in a lot of respects.
They're like, we got to keep kids in. All right, let's like step it up. And I think they got inspired, especially on the internet when people started sharing like all the weird shit that they would build.
Yeah.
Like, I think they got inspired by like, well, people can be super creative with this. Let's hire those people and make it part of our business strategy.
So this is the photo. I want to like turn it into a film, but I don't know what the story is, but maybe.
Yes, this is good. I really let the listeners at home, Hye Yun has showed us a fantastic photo that has various little plastic characters, some people and some dogs, and some of them are trapped in spice bottles.
Yeah.
And it looks very...
And the floor is they're like a black trash bag.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
looks
ground.
the black. I like the black plastic desert concept.
Yeah.
It's a future thing.
Let's turn that into a film,
fantasy.
guys.
It can be like Krull.
Yeah, I was thinking it has this very like sci-fi fantasy look to it.
Yeah.
That's and kind of 80s in a way.
Yeah.
I was going to say Legend is weirdly what came to mind for me.
Yeah, but the same sort of aesthetic. Legend
Yeah.
is definitely like a
Legend,
a
the
higher
zombie
end movie.
No, the
Tom
one
Cruise.
there's a unicorn in it. That's Tom Cruise and a unicorn is
And
all I
Tim
remember.
Curry with his giant horn.
I want to
right.
see that.
It's directed by Ridley Scott.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It's good. It's interesting. I mean, and it's like a better written, higher production quality version of Krull, because Krull is really what we should all base everything off of.
Krull is
Yeah.
all Sean ever wants to talk about.
Krull is awesome. Krull is Krull is
What would be your version of Crawl?
Krull is
Probably something also involving the 80s animated Transformers movie. If like
Probably.
that met Krull, that would probably be your favorite or at least most talked about film.
they both have that quality where they the actual dialogue and some of the specific content that is in the movie is crap, but structurally, as far as storytelling, they're both like perfect. Like the way that they evolve and how it goes from one point to the next and how the characters come together all work perfectly. Also, Krull has young Robbie Coltrane and Liam Neeson in like tertiary parts.
I gotta.
So it's kind of fun to see them in those characters.
So upcoming is your version of Krull, though.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything I do is just Krull. Everything is just Krull.
That would actually be a good thing.
It's also got some weird surreal stuff going on in it. That's pretty cool with this the villain's fortress, which like all the set design for it and all the wide shots of it and the interiors are all very surreal, like it's like dolly paintings basically inside of this space.
This gives me a lot of thoughts, but I know we need to let Hye Yun go, so I won't free associate him on other movies that are
Well,
surreal
thank you
now.
for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
Remind people again how they can find you.
You can find me at I don't know why I get so mental block when I get to this point. You can find me on Instagram at heyyun.com. The first Hey is H-E-Y, and the next one is H-Y-E. And you can look up my web series at heyyun.com, or just Google Hye Yun. My name is This is getting really long because I don't know how to finish stuff. My name is H-Y-E-Y-U-N, but the name of the show is H-E-Y-Y-U-N. So Google it, watch it. Thank you.
Do those things.
And we're 4Mile Circus, 4MileCircus.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, 4Mile Circus. And we will talk to you next time when we'll be talking to somebody else. If you like what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice, and check out other 4Mile Circus services and projects at 4MileCircus.com, as well as 4Mile Circus on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Watch our first VOD release, Nicole's award-winning feminist phone sex horror comedy Small Talk, at 4MileCircus.com/store,